الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وسلم أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. By the permission of Allah Jalla wa Ala, we're able to continue with the Kitab al-Siyam in Umdatul Ahkaam from the tremendous book known as Umdatul Ahkaam. We're dealing with the book of fasting and we're on Hadith al-Thani. We're on the second hadith. In this particular hadith, بإذن we'll deal with ماذا يجب به صوم رمضان وفطره in regards to what is incumbent upon fasting Ramadan and breaking the fast. All right? And how do we know when Ramadan begins? How do we know when Ramadan ends? This particular hadith sheds lights on that. This particular hadith is a proof that Ramadan begins at a certain point and it ends at a certain point. Something that is physical and tangible. And it also rules out the understanding that many people have about calculations. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Basing Ramadan off the calculation, basing off an approximation, none of that is something that is sound within the Sunnah, that we are to utilize those methods. All right? Only in one scenario where we would use something as sort of like an approximation will be if the crescent is not seen at the end of the month, يعني of Shawwal. For Shawwal, the month is not seen at the end of Ramadan. For Shawwal, if the crescent is not seen, then we will approximate another day, which will be 30 days incomplete, inshallah. So this hadith is from Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, whose father is Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu. He says, سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول, he said, I heard the Messenger of Allah صلى الله عليه وسلم saying, إذا رأيتموه فصوموا. If you see it, إذا رأيتموه, when you see it. Here we're getting to that, when you see the hilal, يعني when you see the crescent, then fast. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ أَفْتِرُوا. And then when you see the hilal shawwal, the crescent, then you break it. فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ فَاقْدُرُوا لَهُ. But if the case that the weather is overcasting and you're not able to see the hilal, the crescent for shawwal, then you're going to fast 30 days complete. Because in the Hijri calendar, the month is either going to be 29 or 30 days. There's no 31 days in the Hijri calendar. So it's only going to be either 29 or 30 days. We already know who the Rawi is. The understanding of the words in this hadith, when he says, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ إِذَا أَبَصَرْتُمُوهُ, meaning when you see it, يعني physically see it. All right? أي hilal Ramadan, meaning the crescent for the month of Ramadan. ومراد, what's intended here is رَآهُ مَنْ تَثْبُتُ بِهِ رُؤْيَتُهُ, meaning whoever establishes that he saw it. If that person is Muslim, that person has taken Shahada, and that person is Muslim, upright, take Shahada, then we can take a single testimony of one person bearing witness that they actually saw the crescent يعني for Ramadan to begin our fast. طيب, he says, فَصُومُوا أي فَابْتِدُوا صَوْمَ مِنَ الْغَدِ, meaning begin your fast the next day from the begin your fast the next day from the. Is that right? So there are two crescents. The way that Ramadan begins is a hilal, the sighting of the hilal. It's a crescent for Ramadan. When that is seen, that's when we begin the next day. And then there's an ending point, which is the hilal or shawwal. If it is seen, then we will break our fast, which would be we will break our fast, meaning that Ramadan is over. However, if it is overcast, the weather is overcast, it's gloomy, cloudy and we can't see the crescent, then we're going to complete 30 days. He says, فَأَفْتِرُوا أَيْ فَتْرُكُوا صَوْمَ مِنَ غَضٍ. غُمَّ means it's covered. It's over, meaning that the crescent is covered or overcast. All right. Now, the comprehensive explanation, Shaykh Uthaymeen rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhi, says here, Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu ta'ala anhuma is informing us that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has connected the command of fasting and breaking it to to something that is well known. That's outward. This is ظاهر معلوم. It is something that is well known. Okay. حتى يكون الناس على بنية من أمرهم, to the point that the people, they can be upon from their intentions. I mean, ala bayyinatin min amrihim, to the point that they can be clarified to the people. Something that is a clarified matter, all right, that can clarify their amrihim, their affairs. وَذَلِكَ رُؤْيَةُ الْهِلَالُ شَهْرٌ, and that thing which is ظاهر مَعْلُوم, which is apparent, is the sighting of the crescent. All right, the sighting of the crescent. أي إكمال شهر, or he says the completion of the previous month. 30 يوما, meaning 30 days. All right, حيث لا يمكن زيادة شهر هلالي على 30, because it is not possible that the month, as you said in the Hijri calendar, will exceed past 30 days. It won't go to 31 days. All right. He says, فَقَالَ أَمَرَ أُمَّتُهُ. So here the Prophet ﷺ has commanded his ummah fasting when they see the crescent for Ramadan, and to break or to end Ramadan when they see the crescent for Shawwal. فَإِنْ حَصَلَ مَانِعٌ مِنَ الرُّؤْيَا. But if something occurs which prevents them from actually seeing the crescent for Shawwal, then like gloomy, overcast, so forth, then they have to complete it 30 days. لأن أصل بقائه, because the origin is to remain, it remains upon its origin. فَلَا يَحْكَمْ بِخُرُوجِ إِلَّا بِيَقِينٍ. In other words, it is not ruled against بِخُرُوجِ إِلَّا except with a certainty. So Shaykh Uthaymeen, he added some benefits that we can extract from this hadith, and he says that وجوب صوم رمضان إذا ثبت رؤية هلاله شرعا. The obligation of fasting the month of Ramadan when the sight has been established legislatively. Now, we add that there, that the sighting has been established legislatively. What is considered to be a legislative sighting? Okay, not anyone can just jump up and say, we sight the crescent. All right, there is a means and a method to way Islamically that is supposed to be established. Okay, so it's good that he mentioned Shar'an. He says the second benefit is that the أدب وجوب صوم على بعيد عن مكان الرؤية إذا اختلفت المطالع يعني هلال لم يرى حقيقة ولا حكم. Meaning that the obligation is avoided for the one. The obligation of fasting is avoided for the one who is far away from the place of sighting, okay, of actually seeing the crescent. If the case that is either اختلفت المطالع, meaning that is the viewing of it is actually differs. Because the hilal, when it is not seen, meaning the hilal has not either been seen literally or figuratively. The third benefit is the وجوب إكمال شعبان 30 إذا حال غيم أو نحوه دون هلال رمضان. The obligation of completing the month of Sha'ban for 30 days, if it be the case that it is gloomy or cloudy or overcast or similar to it, other than the crescent of Ramadan. The fourth benefit is hilal shawwal shar'an. Likewise, or ending Ramadan will be once it is firmly established legislatively that the hilal or shawwal, the crescent of shawwal, has been seen. The factor from this hadith is عدم وجوب الفطر على بعيد عن مكان الرؤية إذا اختلف المطالع. The same thing. If a person is further away from the actual viewing, it's different viewing of it, and further away from the actual sight of it, then the obligation of that person breaking his fast. Okay. The sixth benefit is وجوب إكمال رمضان 30 يوما إذا حلقهم. That the obligation of completing the Ramadan for 30 days if there is some discrepancy in regards to viewing the actual crescent, if it's cloudy, if it's overcast, and so forth. Then he says, إبطال اعتماد على قول أهل الحساب في دخول الشهر. And this is very important because a lot of us, we look at, we go to Google or we look at our calendars that we have and we think that this is approximately these He's had these calculations how we tell Ramadan come in. So some people say Ramadan comes in April 13th or April 12th or April 14th. However, the Sunni, the one who's going by the hadith, Ramadan doesn't come in on any of those days. We say Ramadan comes in when the crescent has been seen. All right. So if someone is trustworthy and comes to tell that the crescent has been seen and they're Muslim, they have shahada, etc., can accept that and we fast, not based off of calculations. So the Sheikh has said that the seventh benefit is that the nullification of relying on the opinions of those who, the people of calculations, okay, regarding the entry of the month. All right, so we don't say that Ramadan is April 12th, or April 13th, or April 14th, or April 15th. We say that Ramadan comes in when the crescent has been sighted. That's how we understand. If the crescent has not been sighted, then we complete Sha'ban 30 days. Likewise, the same thing will happen with Sha'ban. All right. The eighth benefit, he says, أن من انفرد برؤيته في بر ونحو لازم وعمل بمقتضي رؤيته. And that is the point, because if it's binding that we accept, if the person is righteous and the person is Muslim, even if it's one individual, and he's righteous and he have confirmed that he saw the actual crescent, then it becomes binding upon us to act on that. Then we fast based off of that. Okay, I know the question comes up every year. Normally, do we fast with a local sighting, or do we fast with a international sighting? Like for many years, for the past years, we have been going with the sighting of the international sighting. Either way, you have the permissibility of going with the local sighting. Again, as long as it's done with the legislation and the person or the people that's involved in that know exactly how to do it legislatively to go for the sighting. Or you can go with the international sighting and do your fasting either ways. And this is something that causes a lot of conflict, because when the Eid comes in, if you started with a local sighting and then the international sighting, say as it preceded the local sighting, or vice versa, the local sighting preceded what's it, then your Eid would not be the same Eid as the Muslims who went with the international sighting. And that normally causes a lot of confusion. All right, but these issues have been dealt with extensively. You can refer back to those things there. So that will bring us to the conclusion of how Ramadan begins, how Ramadan ends, what we do not deal with in regards to the calculations, that we stay away from them. And the next hadith that we'll be doing, inshallah ta'ala, in the next class that we do, hopefully we finish this whole book from Ramadan, is the hadith dealing with the suhoor. And that's another very important topic to talk about, because when it comes to suhoor, many people don't know the proper etiquettes for suhoor. All right. I mean, some people go overboard. Some people are a little bit negligent in regards to the time that you're supposed to take suhoor, and so forth. Right. And not properly understanding that sometimes will cause a mishap, especially with understanding the reason behind it. So whatever we said that was incorrect in our translation, it was definitely from ourselves. Whatever was correct from Allah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to reach this blessed month of Ramadan and allow us to maximize the benefit in the month of Ramadan. And the best way that we can do that is taking Ramadan day by day. All right? You don't have to take Ramadan kullu shahr. Don't look at it like, the whole month of Ramadan. Don't approach it like that. It's the whole month of Ramadan, so I have to lock everything up. Take it yom by yom. And when you take it day by day, you're going to realize that you're going to try to maximize the benefit of that day, okay? So that you're going to try to compete with that day if you make it to the next day. And you make it to the next day, you say, you know what? The next day, I'm going to increase my ibadah, I'm going to increase so forth and so on. And then when you do that, you'll be competing with the day before that, and your days will get better. Remember, if you try, it's a marathon. If you try to gather between the whole month of Ramadan, you're going to burn yourself up, and it happens a lot. Many people, they're eager for the first approximately 10 days, and then in the middle of the Ramadan, which is the next 10 days, they're sluggish when it comes to ibadah. And then when it comes to the last 10 days, you'll see some of them try to get that energy back. But if you just take yom and yom, day by day, all right, maximize your benefit. Also, another encouragement: read the book of Allah. You know yourself. You know how much you have been reading it. You know how much you have not been reading. All year have went by. You probably haven't completed it. You probably, so forth. Read the book of Allah. All right. And I know sometimes some people who don't read Arabic, they'll read the English and then you'll see some of the Arabic words that look a little, in the phonetics that look a little confusing. But no, read the book of Allah. Make the book of Allah your friend. Take some time out and read the book of Allah, because that's the month and where it was revealed, and it is the speech of Allah Azza wa Jal, and it is the only thing besides the Sunnah that we have from Allah Jalla wa Ala that is a testification that He has sent messengers and sent books and so forth of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, not only of existence, there's many other things or signs for that, but we should take our time out to read the Quran. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك جزاك الله خيرا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.